I bless the mic because I got something to say. I rock these headphones because I'm listening twice as much as I talk. I'm going to go into the second part of this. I was talking about wounds, y'all, because wounds, I'm telling y'all, wounds, man, we've all been wounded. We all been broken. And again, a wound is an injury that causes living tissue to be cut or broken or sliced because of an impact or a blow. Meaning that when you get wounded, something impacts you and something gives you a blow that might break your bones. But when I talk about wounds, I'm talking about the mind and the heart, that sometimes life impacts us to such an extent that it causes us a blow or impact. It could be to our ego, it could be to our heart. But whatever it is, it causes us to be broken and it causes us to be functional, but the function is dysfunctional or malfunctional. Now, watch this. How do you know? How do you know that you have a wound? Simple. When a wound, everybody's had a cut before. I remember I got a brand. I'm a Sigma. Go mob to the frat, by the way. I'm a Sigma. And when I got my brand, it burned on, of course, all the way to down where the white meat show. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? You know what I mean? The white meat was showing as it healed. So that's now a wound. But when it started to heal, you guys, a scab was forming on it. So the scab was forming. I remember we went home for Christmas break and I was hooping. And the wound wasn't hurting me at all. I went up for a layup and somebody hacking scratched my wound. And when they scratched my wound, man, it hurt so bad. Oh my God, because they ripped the scab right off the wound and it started to bleed. This is how you know you have a wound, because something has impacted you and something has broken you to the extent, but it's going unaddressed. Because I remember I wrapped my wound up. I wrapped it up and I just left it alone because I was letting it heal. I covered up the wound and I covered up the wound so that I can protect it from the environment. I could protect it from the elements so that it can heal all the way. But when I was hooping, even though it was covered up, the person hacked me so hard that it ripped the scab off and it started hurting me real bad. This is how we do life, man. We put gauze on our pain. We put gauze on our shame. We put gauze on our wound. We put gauze on our trauma. We put gauze on our brokenness and we wrap it up and we tuck it away somewhere very convenient and we act like it's not there. And the way you know you have a wound, because as soon as something happens in your life, the scab gets snatched off of it. And when that scab gets snatched off of it, you start to hurt. You may feel lonely. You may feel angry. You may feel afraid. You may feel frustrated. You may start to do things that are out of your character. Your patience is short. It looks different for every man, but strong emotion or no emotion is connected to when your wound gets scratched, like mine did. And your wounds start to bleed on every part of your life. Every part of your life starts to be affected by your brokenness. It's not because you're broken that you start to bleed. It's because you covered it up like it didn't exist and it couldn't heal, because life has a way of scratching your wound and making you bleed. This is why you're dysfunctional and malfunctional, because now you're walking around bleeding. You can't cover up something that's impacted or inflicted a blow upon your life to the extent that you can't act like it didn't happen. It's kind of like when an animal boo-boos on the floor. When that boo-boo starts to get hard, it doesn't stink as much after a while. But if you step in it and you open it back up, it's so funky, bro. It smells very bad. And that's how some of our lives are. You step in something and now your wound is exposed. Your wife says something to you. Now your wound has been scratched. You lose your job. Your wound has been scratched. Right? Somebody says something that you don't like in a line. Now your wound is scratched. You go gamble and lose your money. Your wound is scratched. And when these wounds start to get scratched, we start to do things to medicate our own pain. We might do drugs. We might get caught up in porn. We might get caught up in women. We might get caught up in overeating. And some of us, y'all, we hide in positive things. It's not always negative things. You hide in your church. That's right, men of God. You hide in church. You know you are broken. You know you are wounded, and you're hiding in church. You're hiding in the pulpit. You're hiding in the choir. You hide on the worship team, but really you're hurting. And all it takes is for your wound to be scratched. And that's what makes you have sex with women in the church. That's what makes you talk to your wife crazy. That's what makes you do things you know you're not supposed to be doing, because we hide in positive things. We don't always hide in negative things. We hide in being lawyers. We hide in being doctors. You know what I'm saying? We hide in doing community service, but we're so involved in those things and so trying to cover up those things that we're not available to our wives. We're not available to our children. We're not available to our business. We're just not available to our places of employment, because when your wound gets scratched, it is very hard to function appropriately. Remember, you become dysfunctional and you become malfunctional. Though when you experience that strong emotion, your wound got scratched just like my brand. The problem is you can't cover it up. You cannot cover it up. Life has too many variables, man. And you know what? We got to get it right. I'm talking to you, man. I'm talking to you men out here who we feel like we're so strong. Bro, you've been hurt before. You've been impacted before. You've received blows before. There are things that you hate about yourself. There are things you may regret. There are things you want to pursue, but you don't have the self-confidence to do it. How can you detect a wound? It's a place of hurt and it's a place of strong emotion. When you act out of character, your wound got scratched. And it's not just strong emotion. Sometimes it's when you feel no emotion at all. When you don't feel any emotion at all, it's something wrong, brothers. It's something wrong when you don't have any empathy for your wife. It's something wrong when you don't have any empathy for your brothers. It's something wrong, not that you just don't cry, that you never even feel like crying. It's something wrong. You can't be that strong, dude. It's something wrong. Take my word for it, y'all. It's something wrong. I keep saying I've been there. I've been in the counseling field and doing healing weekends for men since 2012. I've been in counseling since 2005. I've had a mental breakdown myself. I've had to go see a therapist. I've done all of that stuff. But one thing I realized, y'all, quit playing. You know something is wrong. Your wounds, y'all. You can't put gauze over your wound and expect them to heal. You can't act like they don't exist. They don't just go away. It's something you have to address, man. Wounds are real, but there's help for you. Believe that there's help for you.